Hello friends, welcome back to the Loosely Bound YouTube channel. Today Porter and I want to share some of our favorite audiobooks ever. We picked our favorites based on storyline, but also the narration, the pacing, and all the other little aspects that make a great audiobook a great audiobook. I've had Audible for probably 2 or 3 years now, and it is my favorite streaming platform for audiobooks. It's actually so perfect that it's the only one I've ever used because there are absolutely no issues with Audible at all. So if you're searching for a great streaming platform to play your audiobooks on, I highly recommend it. You can get a link directly to Audible in the description box below if you check that out. Not only does Audible have a huge list of titles to choose from, but they're also great about making recommendations for you, having excellent pricing, and you even get a free credit every month to use on any book that you want. Audible keeps listening fun by rewarding you with different badges for different achievements. It makes you feel like you're crushing your reading goals every time you open the app. All of the books that I'm sharing with you today can be found on Audible, so if you don't have it, make sure you check it out. The first audiobook on my list today is It by Stephen King. The version I listened to was narrated by Steven Weber, and it came in at 44 hours and 55 minutes. So it was definitely a super long listen, but I did listen to it on a little bit of a faster speed. I'll usually bump up audiobooks to about 1.25 or 1.3 times the normal speed, just so I can get through them a little bit quicker. But this one definitely still took quite a chunk of my time to listen to. I chose to listen to it as an audiobook instead of reading it as a physical book because the physical book is like this big. It is massive. And I am not intimidated by long, hefty books at all, but it just looked like it was gonna take me 3 years to get through. So I figured that I would listen to it as an audiobook, and I am so glad that I did. Steven Weber was amazing at narrating it. I remember listening to it in my car and driving home at night and actually having to pause the book quite a few times because I was too scared to listen to it. And of course, it is scary enough on its own, but the way Steven Weber narrated it was just next level. It was so amazing. If you've been living under a rock and don't know the plot line of it, it focuses around 7 kids that discover a horror in their hometown of Derry, Maine. And then it goes back and forth between when they are children facing this horrible thing that they've discovered and when they're adults and something calls them back to their hometown to face it again. It is hands down one of the scariest stories that I've ever heard, watched, read in my entire life, and listening to it as an audiobook just did not disappoint. The next one that I absolutely loved was The Handmaid's Tale. I chose to listen to The Handmaid's Tale as an audiobook while I was in between seasons of The Handmaid's Tale show on Hulu, and I was really craving to be put back in that world, so I had to listen to the audiobook to fill that void that I was missing while I was waiting for the next season to come out. This one was actually narrated by Claire Danes, and she did a wonderful job bringing the characters to life. The Handmaid's Tale comes in just a little over 12 hours, and there was no parts of the story that were slow or boring at all. If you've seen the show, I would definitely recommend checking this one out on Audible. And if you haven't seen the show, check it out anyway, because it is a marvelous dystopia story. The Handmaid's Tale has a lot to do with the fall of modern government as we know it, and due to people not being able to reproduce as easily as we can today, they've taken really strict, desperate measures to ensure the continued population of the human race. They completely strip away women's rights, and the women that are still able to have children become a slave that is completely used just for reproduction. It's really hard to watch and listen to, but it is still such an engaging story, and I highly recommend checking it out. Next on my list is actually a little bit different than the genres that I typically gravitate towards. This one falls under more of a self-help title. It is Atomic Habits by James Clear. This book is hands down my favorite self-help book that I've ever read, listened to, anything like that. because James Clear really gives you actionable advice that you can make these huge changes in your life by making very, very small atom-like decisions every day. Even if I just had a quick ride from my house to my salon, I would turn on Atomic Habits and listen to it for maybe the 15 minutes that it takes me to get there. And I felt like every time that I turned on this audiobook, I was able to pick up some sort of new technique to make my life even better and get myself closer to the goals that I really, really want to achieve. I've actually listened to Atomic Habits twice because that is how much I love this book on Audible. Atomic Habits is a very quick listen. It comes in at just a little over 5 hours. So if you feel like you need something to motivate you, to give you some direction in your life, absolutely check out Atomic Habits by James Clear. You will not regret it. Another book that I really enjoyed on Audible was Troublemaker by Leah Remini. Leah Remini is an actress that is probably best known for playing Carrie on King of Queens. I loved King of Queens when I was growing up. It was just so funny, and I remember watching it almost every night. So years and years later, when I learned that Leah Remini was actually part of the Scientology church and she was outing the Scientology church as being almost cult-like, I was definitely intrigued. I was planning on picking up Troublemaker as a physical book, but since Audible gives me a free credit to buy any book that I want every month, I used one of my credits to get Troublemaker, and I am so glad I did. It's actually narrated by Leah Remini herself, so it really feels like she's speaking directly to you as she's going over her escape from Scientology and just her life as growing up trying to become an actress as well. Troublemaker comes in at 7 hours and 12 minutes and will absolutely keep you entertained for every second that you are listening to it. Last on our list today is actually going to be another title by Stephen King. This one is called Duma Key, and I had never even heard of this book before until one of my clients recommended it to me. I downloaded it on Audible because I was taking a 12-hour drive back to North Carolina, where I'm from, and I really wanted a good story to keep me entertained while I was going. Duma Key is about a guy named Edgar Fremantle who loses his arm in a work accident and really just kind of messes up his brain. Unfortunately, that leads to a divorce, so he goes off to Duma Key, which is a small island off of the coast of Florida. There he becomes seized with the urge to paint, and these paintings that he has suddenly started doing turn into quite the eerie storyline that is totally different than anything else I've read. Even from other titles of Stephen King, this one just really stood out to me, and I'm very shocked that it's not a more well-known Stephen King novel because I thought it was really wonderful, probably in my top 5 Stephen King books that I've ever read or listened to. Duma Key is exactly 21 hours long, so it's a little bit of a longer stretch, but definitely worth your time. So if you're a fan of Stephen King and are looking for something new that you probably haven't heard of yet, definitely check out Duma Key. Thanks for watching, guys. Those were mine and Porter's favorite audiobooks that we've listened to so far. If you enjoyed this and would like more audiobook recommendations, leave a comment below and I can definitely do a part 2 of this video. Also, don't forget to give us a thumbs up if you enjoyed it, share it with your friends, and subscribe to the channel. Oh, okay. Porter saw a lizard and he had to go immediately for urgent business. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to check out the links below. I've listed off where you can sign up for Audible, as well as all of the titles that we discussed today. Porter and I will see you in the next video. Bye.